I didn't know how to do this at the beginning. I just made stuff up along the way, but I also surrounded myself with people who are smarter than me that have skills in other areas. And that's not downplaying my smarts. My smarts are different to your smarts, which are different to your friend that you sit next to in the classroom. We all have skill sets um, that are unique to us, like our personalities. So I would say that me being a great leader is understanding what my great skill sets are, but also encouraging other people to use their skill sets that they've got.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, babies in their diapers, welcome to the Tiberius Show with your host, Tiberius Boy.
That's me, Tiberius.
And welcome to the Tiberius Show today. And as always, we're looking at various jobs and how they affect the world around us. My name is Tiberius Boy, and today's guest is someone who is helping people in a way that most of us don't even think about. But it's something that affects millions of people every single day. She started a movement that is now helping people all across Australia and beyond, making sure everyone has access to basic hygiene products and, most importantly, dignity. Please welcome the one, the only, the dignity defender herself, Rochelle Courtenay.
Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are.
All right, so Rochelle, you're the founder of Share the Dignity. So for kids listening who may not know, what does Share the Dignity actually do?
Yeah, Share the Dignity is a charity in Australia that I started 11 years ago when I read an article that talked about the fact that women and girls who are experiencing homelessness were having to use socks and newspaper and wadded up toilet paper to deal with their period. So Share the Dignity is here to ensure that people are afforded the dignity in life that so many of us take for granted. There isn't a person listening to this who wouldn't think that most people just go to their bathroom and get what they need to be able to deal with their period. But that is not the case here in Australia or actually all around the world.
Oh, wow. So what is period poverty?
Yeah, period poverty is when somebody cannot deal with their period with the dignity that we all deserve. So that means that somebody may leave a tampon in for 8 hours or to make the packet last longer, or I heard a story only 2 weeks ago when a woman was using bread in her underwear to deal with her period. It is the most shocking thing I think I've ever heard. And this is the enormity of what period poverty is, that women will do whatever they can to be able to put food on their table for their children, or, in this economic crisis, put fuel in their car before actually buying period products to be able to deal with their period. And because periods are so shrouded in shame and stigma, nobody wants to talk about the fact that they've got their period and they can't afford it. So periods and poverty, they just don't go hand in hand.
So when did you first realize that this was a real problem?
Yeah, in 2015, I read an article online that a friend had sent me and said, oh my God, have a look at this. And it was the fact that in Australia, there were 48,000 women who didn't have somewhere safe to call home. But what I read next changed me forever. And that was that they were having to use socks and newspaper. And I've been out to a remote Indigenous community hearing about people using mattress foam, taking the mattress foam out and putting it in their underwear. Could you imagine the anxiety that would create? So in 2015, I had my own personal training business back then. And I asked all my clients, and they were all females aged between 30 and 60, to bring me a packet of pads or tampons for every wine they had in the month of March 2015. Some of my clients would just bring me a bag and say, let's not count them, babe. Let's just start training. And we collected 450 packets of period products that we then gave out to 5 local charities. So it's not like we're giving a woman a warm jacket or a pair of shoes and this lasts her for years. This is a monthly problem, and periods don't stop if you've fled domestic violence or you're experiencing homelessness or you're living one paycheck to another.
So why is this something people don't talk about very much?
Yeah, look, I don't think people like to walk around with I'm living in a poverty sign. People who are doing it tough are normally the really humble people who will take what they need. But the fact that people don't generationally talk about periods has made this an even harder topic or charity to be able to help. And, you know, while we'll never meet the person that you give a packet of pads or tampons to, we know that she's got the dignity that we all just deserve, right? Imagine, and I'd give you a scenario that, you know, might be a big ick for most, but imagine as a bloke and you're thinking about the fact that you've got diarrhea, but there is no toilet paper inside. That's the same anxiety that women have to go through month on month when they don't have access to the very basic of essentials.
So how did you decide that you were going to be the one to solve this problem?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I think I didn't put my pad super cape on. I literally just thought there isn't a person in Australia who wouldn't hear that this is a problem, that wouldn't want to help. It's an absolute girl code that if you're in a bathroom and someone does a hoy, hey, has anyone got a pad or a tampon in here? You give one and you don't even get to see them. So I knew that if I set up a system where women knew that the problem existed, and that it was really easy to donate, then we could actually solve the problem. So back in 2015, there was a few sliding door moments where I thought, you know, and people were saying, oh, let's just fix it in one part of Australia first and let's work it out. And I'm like, oh, well, I can't unhear that story from Northern Territory. So it wasn't a fact that it was how was I going to do it? It was how could I not do it? How could I not try to make sure that this wasn't a problem for women in Australia?
All right, so at the time you were working another job, how did you transition from working every day to doing this?
Oh, God, that is another great question. You know what? I worked both jobs. Back then, I had my own personal training business. I also had a photography business. Both things that I was really passionate about. And I'm really lucky that everything that I've done in the second half of my life to date has been stuff that I absolutely love. And I remember for the first 4 years of Share the Dignity's life, I did both jobs. My photography business was the first thing to go because I just couldn't fit it in. Going and doing photographing a wedding all day on a Saturday and then doing the post photos on a Sunday was just not the time that I had. So I think at the beginning, you know what? I just did both jobs. I literally lived off 4 hours sleep a night. It wasn't healthy and it wasn't great, but to be honest, I don't think we would be where we are without the time and the effort that it took to do that. I remember winning a grant very early on, and it was the very first time that our charity had ever had money, but we also won $15,000 worth of flights and being able to go and fly to Melbourne and meet our volunteers. Now we have 6,500 volunteers around Australia. So they are what we call our sheroes. So they are heroes with a she, but they are the backbone to Share the Dignity. So if the period products are donated in Bendigo, Ballarat, Broome, wherever they stay in that location and the volunteer goes in and picks them up and then drops them to their local charity. So for many reasons that works beautifully, but it also meant that there were 6,500 of me around Australia that were really passionate about the program. So when I started to be able to fly around and meet those people, meet the why they were doing it, that is why I do it. I do it to be able to ensure that everybody can share the dignity. So transitioning was quite slow. I think the first 4 years was just hell for leather. Everyone was a volunteer. And then I think I remember getting $2,500 a quarter, which was just to try to help me subsidize all the clients that I no longer trained. I probably donated $100,000 worth of income every year for those first 6 years. So, you know, but I would do it again in a heartbeat.
So is it true that you ask people to donate pads instead of presents?
Absolutely. And that started when I was turning 50. I was like, I do not want any more gifts. I'm like, how can I get people to donate pads instead of presents? And it kind of caught on where other people would go, you know what, I don't need presents. So now we have a birthday fundraiser, which instead of people giving them gifts, they can give a couple of bucks and we'll get the period products for them, or they can donate them. It's, you know, for most of us, we just have too much stuff.
So, do you expect it to grow into something like this big?
No, I did not. Never in a million years did I ever think that share the dignity. And I'll give you some pretty sexy stats. As of today, we've collected 6 million packets of period products that have been distributed to our 4,000 charities around Australia. For most part, we have advocated for every state and territory in Australia to provide period products to every primary and secondary school in Australia. We're also advocating for every university and higher education to provide period products, because no girl should ever miss a day of education because their family cannot afford period products.
So, Rochelle, what does it feel like knowing something that you started is helping millions?
Yeah, you know what? I'm very proud. I'm very proud, but I'm also very proud of Judy, who does it on Bribie Island. I'm really proud of, Robin, who has always been a great volunteer on the Gold Coast. There are so many of me in Australia. This was about a team sport. How did I get to be the captain of the team? And how did I sometimes lean into the skills of other people? Literally, I played netball all my life. So for me, a lot of my leadership qualities have come from playing and coaching netball. And I just know that in order to be the best team, everybody has to have different skill sets in everything that they do. And, mine is probably rallying the troops and making sure that everybody feels valued and gets out of it what they need.
So, why is it important for both boys and girls to understand this?
Yeah, look, I really feel for boys and I feel for men, because never were they educated around menstruation. Now, we do a survey every 3 years. It's called the Bloody Big Survey. In 2024, we had 153,000 responses. So it's the biggest body of data the world has ever seen on menstruation. In there, it said that 53% of women felt like they were not adequately educated on menstruation. Imagine leaving school and 53% didn't know how to do math or English or one of those subjects. It's not okay. But imagine if we asked men or boys how they would feel about being adequately educated on menstruation. Now, you might not menstruate, but I bet you that somebody you love does. Your mum, your sister, your friends, your girlfriend, your colleague. Without educating boys and girls, we cannot move forward to a workplace where a male boss understands what his colleague is going through, or a man who's getting married understands what his wife is going through. Education is the key to removing the shame and stigma around periods.
All right. So, you talked about menstrual equity. What does that mean?
Yeah, for me, menstrual equity, and for Share the Dignity, menstrual equity is the provision of period products accessible to anyone who needs them. So we really want a world where if you're in the library and you get your period, or, I heard a story a month ago where a really accomplished woman on LinkedIn sent me a message and said, I just want you to know that I was having one of the worst days. I went into the bathroom in the library because I was bleeding. I was having a miscarriage and your vending machine was there. That saved me from having an even worse day. So menstrual equity is that. How do we have the provision of period products easily accessible to anyone who needs them? How do we educate everybody in the world about menstruation, right from the basics of a 4-year-old through to an 80-year-old male, so that periods then don't become a taboo subject? Really, that's menstrual equity to us.
All right, well, here's like a good time to do a quick commercial break. Let's hear a word from our sponsors.
So you want to make an ad for your company, right?
Yeah, Tiberius, you want to help me?
Okay, so what's the name of the company?
PPWND.
PP what?
Professional Pressure Washing and Detailing.
So you like clean driveways?
Yeah, like that. We pressure wash commercial buildings and semi-truck and trailers.
So how would someone get a hold of you?
They can visit my site at ppwnd.com or call me at 407-900-7793.
So I just tell them to call you at 407-900-7793 or visit ppwnd.com?
Yeah, Tiberius, you got it.
Cut. That's a wrap. Just use that.
Oak Ridge Gun Range is a family-oriented shooting range that has been in business for over 30 years. They specialize in basic firearm training and offer numerous services such as consignments, gun trades, gunsmithing, and concealed weapon classes. I even got my training for gun safety at Oak Ridge Gun Range. Great customer service, and firearm safety is what they do best. So find out more at oakridgegunrange.com.
And we're back here with Rochelle Courtenay, founder of Share the Dignity in Real Life World Changer. So, Rochelle, let's talk about how people can help. So, what's the It's in the Bag campaign?
Oh, It's in the Bag is my favorite part of Share the Dignity. You know, like having a favorite child, though you don't really. Share the Dignity's It's in the Bag Christmas Appeal is where we ask everyday Australians to donate a handbag that they either no longer use or one that they've gone out and purchased. Fill it with life's essentials, things like shampoo, conditioner, toothbrush, toothpaste, deodorant, soap, then obviously period products. And then you can put into your bag whatever else you want. So things like hair ties. I've owned 7,422,000 hair ties in my lifetime, and I can never find one. So I always put hair ties. I put a hairbrush. I always put a chapstick. I always also put a note. Dear her, I hope that you understand that things will get brighter for you. I always put something that connects my heart to her. We then ask people to drop them into Bunnings, which is our biggest hardware store in Australia. We've got like 350 of them in Australia. So everyone knows where their Bunnings is. We then pick them out and get them to every woman spending Christmas in a domestic violence shelter or experiencing homelessness at Christmas time. We have now collected more than 1.1 million of those bags to distribute to women doing it tough. The stories that we hear are just so heart-wrenching, you know, like to hear Gabby, who was a young girl. She was 18, although if you can find her on YouTube, she looked like she was about 14, and she was experiencing homelessness due to mental health issues, and she knew to sleep on the streets in Perth during the day and be awake at night to be alert. Now had just turned 18, so she tapped out of the youth system, but there wasn't enough placements for homelessness for women. And so she literally spent 3 months living on the streets. Now, Gabby ended up getting into a youth homelessness service over Christmas, and there she received a bag. In that bag was everything that we just mentioned that you could want, but also was a twin pack of chapsticks. Now, Gabby said she cracked the chapsticks, she put the chapsticks on her lips. She didn't even realize how burnt and damaged her lips were from living on the streets, that this chapstick just felt like butter on her lips. And then it was a twin pack, and she remembered she had this little, this friend who was about 14 in the homeless, and she said, oh, here, I'll give you one of these chapsticks. Your lips are bleeding anyway. And she said at that point of handing her over that chapstick, did she realize that she was meant to be on this earth to help somebody. She had been so traumatized for so long that all she'd ever was people's help all the time, and that for the first time in a long time she was able to help somebody. But in her bag was also a note, and it was the Winnie the Pooh note, and it said, you are braver and stronger than you imagined. Now, she has that note beside her bed in a frame, and today, 6 years on, she now works in lived experience in a mental health unit in a hospital, and she is thriving because of that note and the value of the bag. And that's the bit about the bag that I truly love. I don't think anyone's ever going to get a packet of pads or tampons and go, yeah, you've changed my life. But a bag, we hear those stories. And I think that's probably why it's such a big part of my life, and I love it. And people love putting a bag together.
So, what would you say to someone who feels embarrassed talking about this?
Talking about periods?
Yeah.
You know
just
what?
about.
If you don't get your period, you come from somebody who did. So it's a normal, natural part of life. Without them, you wouldn't exist. Educate yourself is what I say. Head to our website at www.sharethedignity.org.au. There are a lot of resources on there. We've worked with football clubs to provide what does a coach need to know? So what if your dad put his hand up to coach your sister in an under 14s rugby team, and what does he need to know to be able to coach that team that no one ever educated him on? All of that information is on our website.
All right, so Rochelle, you helped remove the tampon tax in Australia. That's huge. I mean, what was that experience like?
It was probably one of my proudest moments of Share the Dignity. Our GST was brought in Australia more than 25 years ago. And unfortunately, sitting around the table was probably what actually was 9 men and 1 woman who was making these decisions. And I remember that woman saying, no, you cannot tax period products. And unfortunately, they were hit with the GST. So it meant that 10% of any purchase on period products went through to the government. Little did I know, and most people didn't know that our period products were taxed. And so back in 2018, I was creating the world's first dignity vending machine that dispensed free period products at the touch of a button in a bathroom. So you never had to ask anybody. And in doing that, I thought that the period products that we get donated, that we could cut up, make this box, and then use those products to fill the period pack that goes in the vending machine. But we actually couldn't, because the period products fell under the Therapeutics Goods Association Act, which means that they were deemed medical. But they were deemed medical, but they actually had a GST, a luxury item tax on it. It didn't make sense. And so for 1 year, we did a federal petition that required 100,000 signatures in 30 days. It got heard in the government. It was a very big story about how to speak to more politicians than you ever care to mention. But it was also a groundswell of, you know what? Australian women are going to raise their voices, and we are not going to be silenced. So on the 1st of January 2019, that GST was removed, but that was a people power. And it was really it was righting the wrong that had been done for 20 years prior.
So why would a kid listening today want to grow up and help solve the issue of menstrual equity?
Why would he want to help? Why wouldn't he? His mum gets her period. There should be nobody that you know that doesn't have access to the very basic of essentials. So I would question you all to research a little bit more, find out as much as you can, and make sure that your school or your sporting organization or your mum's workplace provides period products. And you know what? If they don't, raise your voice.
Well, why would they want to do this for a living?
Oh, why would they want to do it for a living? I don't know. I don't think it's everybody's jam, right? But I think what you could do for a living is find something that you are passionate about and make that change.
Well, on that note, let's another quick break to pay some bills.
The Tiberius Show would like to thank one of their dedicated sponsors, Custom Designs Orlando. These guys are on Mills Avenue and do all sorts of stuff, ranging from photo ID badges, engraved signs, custom braille ADA signs, vinyl lettering to trophies and awards. The cool part about Custom Designs is they can ship products all over the United States. You can reach them at 407-898-0373 and tell them that
Tiberius
sent you.
Over 40 years, Lighthouse Central Florida has provided education, independent life skills, and job training to thousands of Central Floridians who live with blindness or any degree of vision loss. Whether it's picking out clothes in the morning or just moving around your community and serving Orange, Seminole, and Osceola counties. Contact Lighthouse Central Florida at 407-898-2483 or visit them online at lighthousecfl.org.
And we're back here with the incredible Rochelle Courtenay, leader, advocate, and dignity champion. So, Rochelle, let's talk about you for a minute. So, what makes a great leader?
Yeah, I think empathy, being curious. I think being curious about people and what makes them tick, but also being agile for me is, I didn't know how to do this at the beginning. I just made stuff up along the way, but I also surrounded myself with people who are smarter than me, that have skills in other areas. And that's not downplaying my smarts. My smarts are different to your smarts, which are different to your friend that you sit next to in the classroom. We all have skill sets that are unique to us, like our personalities. So I would say that me being a great leader is understanding what my great skill sets are, but also encouraging other people to use their skill sets that they've got and to find out what that is and what makes them tick.
All right, so what advice would you give a teen who wants to start something of their own?
Just do it. What have you got to lose is what I say. Like, especially if it's, whether it's a charitable piece or whether it's something that you're passionate about, like I talk about before I even had Share the Dignity, I did personal training because I loved helping women. I did photography because I loved it. Do what you love and you feel like you'll never work a day in your life.
All right, so what skill do you think young people should start building right now?
AI. Well, I don't know. I think and not everybody is going to, I think it's like, what are you interested in is what you need to delve into. Because if you're going to get up and get out of bed every day for the rest of your life, you might as well do something that interests you, right?
All right, so if you could go back and talk to 15-year-old Rochelle, what would you tell her?
You're worthy, that your voice matters. And that was not always the case for me, having grown up in a home of domestic violence. So for me, that's what I would be telling my 15-year-old self, and to read and to surround yourself with amazing people.
So what do you do for fun when you're not working?
Ooh, what do I do for fun? I have, I start my every day watching the sunrise come up by going for a 10K walk every day. I love going to the gym. I love going to the beach. But I have grandchildren. I have 5 grandchildren and I have 4 grandsons and 1 granddaughter. So I love spending time with them. I love the joy in a child's face and I love the joy that I get to be part of.
All right, well, what's your favorite book to read?
Oh, my favorite book to read. I have lots of different books that I have read. I am very obsessed with time management because time is the only thing that you cannot buy more of, right? So, yeah, I have a friend who has written a lot of books around time management, and The Life List, which was probably one of my favorite books. And it was about making sure that you don't put off doing all the things that you want to do. You know how you hear people all the time go, oh, I'll do that when I retire. This is about how do you live a life list now that doesn't postpone it to the time you've retired.
All right, well now the questions only get harder. So what was the biggest mistake that you've ever made? And how did it change you as a person?
Yeah, I think the biggest mistake I ever made when it comes to Share the Dignity was not actually speaking to men. For the first 8 years of Share the Dignity's life, I thought it was just a female's issue. Literally, I didn't speak to men. I didn't include them in our language. So then I didn't get to ensure that you could donate or your dad would want to donate or include them in understanding that the problem exists. And it's such a big mistake. Such a big mistake, because there isn't a man that you or I know who wouldn't be empathetic to understanding that his wife can't afford period products because he'd want to be part of the solution, right?
Well, is there anything else you think my listeners should know about you and what you do?
I think I love what I do. I get so much joy out of the volunteers and hearing the stories from our charities. Logistically, this charity is much bigger than I ever imagined. We would move 87 pallets every single month to get out to remote Indigenous communities. Like it's crazy how big this charity is now.
All right. Well, do you have a website or social media where people can follow the park?
Yeah, if you head to www.sharethedignity.org.au, you can follow us there. But, just head to Instagram or Facebook or what do you call that other one? TikTok.
All right. Well, what is that one question that you think I forgot to ask you?
What is that one question? Are you asking me the math question? Because
No,
I practiced
one
it
question.
forever.
What's the question?
I don't think there's any question that you haven't asked that we've covered.
All right. Well, thank you, Rochelle, for being my special guest. Can you stick around for Math Corners?
Sure can.
All right.
Aw, Dad, my computer's slow again and I can't play my games.
Call Your Computer Solutions today, and we will scan for viruses and clean that computer up remotely and make it fast again. Our phone number is 407-826-0810.
Thanks, Dad. My computer's fast again. Now I can do my homework. Thanks for calling Your Computer Solutions at 407-826-0810.
Tiberius' favorite subject, it's Math Corners!
And now it's time for Math Corners. Thank you so much, Rochelle, for helping me with Math Corners. And this week, we're small multi-step word problems. My dad is always good at finding new problems for me to solve, and today we're going to talk about something really important, making sure students have enough pads. So, you should be good at this one. Alright, so a school is helping female students who need period products. There are 40 female students who needs help. Each student uses 3 pads per day, and they need them for 5 days in a month. So the question is, how many total pads does the school need?
Do you want me to answer that?
Nah, it's okay, I got it. Alright, well, first, this is a real-world problem, because organizations like Share the Dignity help provide products like this every day. So they have to figure out how many to send. So first, we figured out how many pads one student needs. They use 3 pads per day for 5 days, so 3 times 5 is, well, 15 for one student. That was pretty easy, but that seems like a small number. Let's see what happens next. Now, we have 40 students, so let's multiply 15 times 40. Let's see, 15 times 4 is 60. Add the 0, we get 600 pads total. That's a lot, just for one school, and that still adds up really fast. And I'm probably really sure that there's more than 40 students. Female students, at least. Alright, well, Rochelle, when you hear numbers like that, does it surprise people how much it's actually needed?
No, it doesn't surprise me how much is needed, but it also, when you even extrapolate that out even further, that's 7,200 a year. Now, what does that even mean? It means that a girl gets to stay in school. Could you imagine the trajectory of somebody's life when they don't get to go to school 3 days out of every month? That's not something that most of our boys or anyone else has to worry about. This is about equity. This is about how do we run the same race as everybody else. Provision of period products should just be in every school.
Well, my teacher said that I would use math every day. How do you use math with your work?
Oh, well, that's everything from looking at the budgets that I'm preparing for next year that go through to our board next week. That is calculating how many period products are going to be needed at each charity. We've just finished a collection drive. So in March and August, our collection boxes go out in every Woolworths supermarket. And right now we're currently sitting at 120,000 collected, but the charities need 180,000. So, where's the math? I've got a 60,000 gap there. And how am I going to fill that? I'm probably going to have to backfill that by buying more period products or telling the community that that's what we need. And so going to raise that money. Math is everywhere, right?
All right, well, thank you so much, Rochelle, for your help with Math Corners. And now it's time for the Heart of a Lion. As you know, we talk about the qualities of living by the Heart of a Lion, which stands for leadership, integrity, obedience, and ability. This week, we're going to talk about leadership. For me, I think leadership is the act of loving what is good, having self-control, and being disciplined. The qualities of leadership are providing guidance and direction, organization, and being a positive influence on others. So the other day, I was at a dollar store with my dad. When I say dollar store, I mean one of those places where everything is busy. I mean, there were people in every aisle, the checkout line was super long, and it felt like everyone showed up at the exact same time. The employees looked a little bit overwhelmed. There were only a few people working, and customers were starting to get impatient. But then I noticed the manager. She didn't stay in the back or just tell me what to do. She jumped right in. She opened another register, helped bring people up, answered questions, even helped restock items that were running low, and she was moving fast, but she stayed calm. And she was really kind to everyone. So then something really cool happened. The team started to feel better. You could see it. The employees started working faster, helping each other, and even the customers seemed less stressed. And she didn't just manage, she led. She showed that, being a leader isn't about being in charge. It's about helping others succeed, especially when things get tough. You don't have to be a manager to be a leader. You can lead by helping a teammate, stepping up in class, or just staying calm when others are stressed. And don't forget that you can be lion strong. So, Rochelle, do you have an example of leadership that you saw this week?
Yeah, look, I've mentioned it before. I played netball all my life, for 50 years of my life. I absolutely loved it. I believe that playing sport teaches you to understand the enormity of how valuable each team member is. And when I speak to one of the team here, I'm not their boss. I'm on their team. We're all part of a team. And sometimes I'm like, well, you just tell me what you need from me to be able to do your job. So whether you're a netball goalkeeper or a shooter who gets the goals in, every single person on that team is valued, and you actually can't get the goals without everybody there. So when I lead, it's about how do we all play to our strengths, and how can sometimes I need to be benched, right? If I'm tired, hungry, or depleted, I'm probably best to bench myself. And I think that as a leader, that's what that rest piece is. I think resting, and I used to wear busy like a badge of honor, because for the first 5 years of Share the Dignity, it was hectic. But rest now is how I get to be the best version of being a leader for everybody else. And also setting that standard for everybody that, we have 35 staff here. And when you leave on a Friday, I want you to understand that I don't want you to think about working. I want you to be thinking about what is best for you. What does your family need from you? How do you fill your cup up? So that by Monday, when you're coming back to work, you can give me 110%, because not for me, but for the women that we serve.
All right, so Rochelle, of all the Heart of the Lion virtues, which is the one that you see the most?
I'm so sorry. I did not hear that question. I'm a little bit deaf because I had a sinus issue. Can you repeat that question to me? I burst my eardrum.
Oh, we can reset that, right? Yeah. 3, 2, 1. So, Rochelle, of all of the Heart of a Lion virtues, which is the one that you see the most?
Empathy. Empathy and strength in what you need to be doing.
All right. Well, we should always try to be lion strong in everything we do, shouldn't we?
Absolutely.
And that's our show, folks. I want to thank the one, the only, the amazing Rochelle Courtenay for being on my show. It has been so much fun talking with you today. I think we learned a lot about your work with Share the Dignity and all the other people that you help in Australia.
Thank you so much.
And do you mind giving your social media and website again?
Yeah, sharethedignity.org.au is our website, and our Share the Dignity Australia is our Instagram handle.
Alright, well also you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at The Tiberius Show, and I would like to thank WWPR 1490 AM, Kansas 98, Soul Radio 24/7, Easy Way TV, and all the other stations that air my show, and please be sure to visit The Tiberius Show on YouTube and hit that subscribe button. And Rochelle, are you subscribed yet?
I absolutely will be.
Alright, well this week, Student Veteran says, John Morgan was so much fun. I could listen to him for hours. And Real Life says, some saw his videos online. His transformation from Trump to Bush was amazing. Yeah, Real Life, it was really great to watch John do his stuff, and he even sang a song on the show. So you might want to watch that one too. And also, be sure to leave a comment on my videos, and I might even mention yours at the end of my show. And also, be sure to listen to us next on the Tiberius Show with your host, Tiberius Boy. And that's a wrap.